All right, here goes the watch list for Monday, April 20th. I'm going to start off with BSPM. You know what? I think I'm just going to start off reminding everybody I'm a day trader. I'm in cash every night. And so when I bring out these lists, I am just showing you something that might give me a nice trade on Monday. All right, I'll be in cash by Monday night. Very effective, especially for this type of market. You know, I see on Twitter, Stock Twits, a lot of people talking about where the overall market's going, whether or not to stay the course, whether or not to start lightening positions. And I always admire and envy swing traders. When things are going, the market's in a constant uptrend. But when it's choppy like this, I finally feel a little bit vindicated in doing it what I've been doing for years, and that is just finding individual stocks that are setting up nicely, getting nice trades out of them, the very next day, getting to cash and so on. So, again, I don't hold overnight. It's just the way I'm wired. So I sleep better, and I just kind of as a general rule, I'm targeted and look for individual setups, individual names, and then on an intraday basis, individual setups in those individual names. So what I try to do is find stocks that, if they get to a certain trigger price, should give me a nice move almost immediately, and that's what I look for. My setups should. I always tell our members this. My setups should work right away. When I say right away, I mean within a couple minutes of when I call them or when they trigger after I call them. And if they don't, I generally don't hang out because I usually have a setup with what I call stacked catalysts. In other words, catalysts on the chart just above. So once it gets moving to those catalysts, it should kind of like dominoes start really ripping higher. Real quick, I could show a GBSN. Had this on bounce watch. Take Friday's candle out of it. Had this on watch for the group on Friday. And, after this nice move here, secondary move here, 3 days lower, right? And then on an intraday basis, it was in a nice narrow range while the market was selling off really hard. So it was due for a bounce. It's shown recent passion on the upside moves, right? Shorts have been a little bit confounded in this thing. And it was this was the opening candle on Friday with a high of 372. And the low was like 360 for the opening 15 or 20 minutes. So I think I just called this long. I don't remember the exact price, probably 373, a break of the high, and the stop 360. And look what happens. We get a move from 373 to 446. It's a huge percentage move in 15, 20 minutes. All right. There's an example of what I try to do, what I try to find for the group. All right. So that somebody had to say, hey, the market's down 300 points. I didn't even know it. We were having such a good morning while the market was getting killed. So there, in a nutshell, is what I try to do. This one's actually on watch, but I'll get to it in a minute. Let me go back to where I started. BSPM. Very strong move on Thursday and kind of a decent relative strength move on Friday. So I like this over Friday's high, over 159. Of course, depending on the market, we don't know if we're going to gap down or up with the overall market. So always have the overall market on watch, and then I take these setups if I have a proper setup on an intraday basis and it coincides with possibly strength in the SPY. It doesn't necessarily have to be strength, but it could be a neutral SPY. But generally, I won't take a long if the SPY is tanking on an intraday basis at the time my long sets up. So a lot of things go into these intraday entries, guys. So keep that in mind. If you hear me mention a trigger price on one of these videos, it doesn't necessarily mean I'll be taking it that next day, depending on other parameters. All right. All right. So anyway, GBSN. I just showed you this one. I like the strength of these pops. Right now it's kind of coiling. It's putting in lower highs, but it's also putting in higher lows. So this one could give a significant upside move. You see the volume on these green days much bigger than on the red days. So I want to watch that for a continuation, especially if the market, if there's any strength in the market on Monday. All right. CNDO. This one's holding up well too. Relative strength on a weekday on Friday. I like it over Friday's high, 445. Remembering what I just said about intraday entries, and then you have a secondary catalyst of 455, which would be a break of Thursday's high, and then this has room to run. So I like you kind of have a couple catalysts there on CNDO. TROV, just nice relative volume, again relative strength on Friday in a weak market. So That one just goes on watch. I don't have a trigger price on it, but I do want to watch it for a potential long, especially if the market has some strength. No, that's not right. TZOO. Very nice breakout on Thursday and really held up pretty well on Friday. So I have this. I have it labeled as a bounce play, meaning if it can trade in a narrow range for a while and then give me an upside break sometime on Monday, that could give a nice trade. It's a lower float. It moves really nicely when it does move. Here's a cheaper one, BLFS. Nice pop. That was probably what? Tuesday, then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, lower all 3 of those days, but the volume's declining. It's still holding some of this big 2-day run, so this one might, kind of like GBSN, might be ready to turn higher on Monday, so that one goes on watch. If you ever can't understand the symbol that I said, it's always up here in the upper left-hand corner. That's BLFS, MNOV. Really big volume on the gap up day on Thursday. Popped, but then sold off. I actually had a really nice long in this one. Probably my best trade of the day on Thursday, money-wise. And then now it closed near its lows, and then another day down on Friday. This one I'm throwing on bounce watch. I think it's when one of these days could turn up and give a nice move. So that's MNOV. DGLY, this one still isn't moving like I was looking for. Didn't get a trade in it on Friday. But I still think it's back down to support, and I'm not going to go into the story because I've done it in like 3 previous videos. I don't want to just keep saying it, but suffice it to say, I'm looking for a move in these digital body cameras soon. I'm expecting legislation to come out, or news of legislation, and in that same light, Taser is really trying to break out here lately on that same theme, and that's why. Another reason I'm kind of watching DGLY, because Taser is so strong. Taser gapped up on Friday, but closed near its lows again in a weak tape. Keep your eyes on the digital camera plays. Bristol Myers BMY, 14 million shares on Friday. Again, a weak tape, but I like this one as a potential. Again, I'm labeling it as a bounce play, which just means I'm looking for a narrow range and then an upside break after that narrow range. I would prefer an afternoon break, but this one might just trade in a narrow range for the first 15 minutes or so and then break its high of the day. I still like that too. So this one, I definitely want to keep this one on watch. That's BMY. And then ENZN. Really nice move on Thursday, and then came down a bit on Friday on lower volume. Sometimes the third day it can just shoot up again. So I want to watch that one. It's not my favorite. And then lastly, VGGL. Almost 10 million shares on Wednesday, then 2 days lower on declining volume. Pretty good setup, as you've seen some of these others work. This one on Monday might give a narrow range and then a nice rip to the upside. So that's a good candidate for me too. I like that one a lot. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm going to leave it at that. We always play gappers in the morning as well, but I like to have a list like this to watch, as the day unfolds, because a lot of these might give some nice trades on Monday. All right? Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday night.